I'm going to be responding to a comment in my video response to Chrissy about the search black educated lanes fail to assert themselves. And I'm going to be responding to this comment in a vid. I don't feel like typing all that stuff out. And this comment was by a Sariat Ibrahim. I take it this particular person is of the Hebrew Israelite camp. So, just I would like to say unto them, assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum, or assalamu alaikum. There it is. And the comment reads, men and women make single mothers. Why can't black men understand this? I bet you're against abortion too. I just don't understand the way black men think. A lot of black men, whether they have good jobs or not, just do not want to settle down, get married, and be the married husband driving the minivan. All right, let me respond to that first passage. I'm not denying that it takes two to tango. Obviously, you need 23 alleles from the mother and 23 from the father to come together to make gametes to fertilize and create a zygote that eventually becomes a person. I'm not saying that at all. My whole point in this video, one of my main points that I made in my response was basic biology 101. This is how it goes. Females are the agents of selection when it comes to choosing a mate. This holds true across all species on this entire planet, including the human beings. It is only in the black community where the North American black female is not held to that standard. She doesn't uphold her part of that bargain. My point is, every generation has a responsibility to put the next generation in an at least sustainable condition. Ideally, you want the next generation to be better. So when women are negligent at agents of selection and they put their child in a jammed up situation, she's not holding up her end of the bargain. I forgot what species of bird that it is, but the males compete for sexual access with the females by building them a nest and then, storing food within this nest. The male bird of this particular kind of bird, the male who builds the best nest, that's laid out the best, gains sexual access to that female of that, that particular bird. What I'm saying is that needs to be applied to the black community like yesterday. Continuing on with the comment. What race of men continually promote the pimp, player, and baby mama culture? Black women are not doing this on their own. Hold on. The pimp, player, and baby mama culture that is very much alive within the black community are all manifestations of a failed economic infrastructure in the black community and the deterioration of the nuclear family. And as I also pointed out in my video concerning the timeline of all this, we know we can pinpoint the ground zero of the deterioration of the black family. First, economic jobs were scarce. Economic opportunities were scarce. Then came in the government assistance. Then came in the drugs. Now as it pertains to the pimp culture in particular, that right there, that's a whole different animal in and of itself, because a lot of times, a lot of these pimps You know, they front like they got the gift of gab, like they can talk a bitch out there on the track, but a lot of times they're kidnapping and force feeding these young girls sex and turning them out and isolating them and then putting them in vicarious positions that force their hand to be prostitutes. You know, no man in the home to watch after his 14, 15-year-old daughter, and on her way home she gets snatched up by a group of pimps and they take her to some sleazy motel and run trains on her for hours and shit until she's turned out, and then they force her into prostitution. You know, that right there is his own beast. And you know, in my opinion, some extreme measures are gonna have to be taken to curb that. But the player aspect of the culture, that falls right in line with what I laid out about natural selection and how women are the agents of selection as it pertains to choosing a mate. I've said this many a times. Dudes will do whatever it takes to be what the female wants in order to gain sexual access to her. So if the women are enthralled with the idea of a man being desired by different and various women and him being a player, you know, because let's be honest, a lot of black women gravitate towards men who have other women on their team or whatever. Because, hey, if he's a player, if he has a lot of females, a lot of, you know, females on the text and whatnot, that means he's desired. And a lot of women will get with these player type of men because they like the drama that comes along with it. Let's be honest. They like to be the side chick and then put the player on blast and get into a fight with his main chick. They like to argue on Facebook and go back and forth with another female, arguing over, you know, the love interest in question. They like that shit. You know, back in my late teens, early 20s, a lot of females were very receptive to me when I was just that, an asshole, player, you know, suave type of motherfucker. But as I got older and I seen for myself that type of behavior is not conducive for a strong nuclear family structure, I then in turn started laying down some boundaries and laying some social structures in place, you know, to foster a strong nuclear family. And when I started to be more rigid and more serious and more disciplined in my everyday goings and everyday dealings, a lot of women, you know, didn't respond like that. They didn't respond to that. It is well known in the black community. You want to get women, all right, you got to get your swag right. You got to dress accordingly. You know, you got to give off a certain persona. Then when you get their number, you know, you got to wait a couple days to text them. You know what I mean? And then when you text them and they reply, you know, you can't reply to their reply immediately. You got to wait about 15 to 30 minutes to kind of keep them in suspense. You know, give them that cliffhanger, you know. And then, you know, you got to start petty arguments with them so that they can have their drama fix for the day to keep them interested. Then on top of that, you know, you gotta deliver the goods on the D tip, if you catch my drift. So what you're seeing as a result of this player culture within the black community is a response to the mate selection of the women. If all black women in America said today, none of you men are getting any pussy unless you are a certified tradesman or unless you have a college education, which translates to a well-paying unionized job and or a well-paying white-collar job. If black women, all black women across the nation said that today, what you will see immediately is a extreme spike in the enrollment by black men of trade schools and colleges and universities across the country. You know, you can't go outside during a monsoon and demand that you not get wet. Like, you know, you look out the window before you go outside. You know it's raining. It's raining cats and dogs. You know, it's raining cats and dogs. It's raining pitchforks and little nigga babies. You can't expect to go outside in that and not get wet. Now, as far as your point that you made about the baby mama culture, you're making my point. Black women fostered this baby mama culture. Like I might have said, I'm not sure if I said this in previous videos, but I'm saying it now. I have been approached and made the proposal by, I believe it's like 7 or 8 women since the time that I was 19 to father their child. None of these women wanted a relationship with me. And the vast majority of them made that clear. It's one woman in particular that I was interested in, dark-skinned sister. Kind of on the shorter side, she's probably about 5'5", gorgeous face. And I mean, she dark-skinned, gorgeous face, and I'm talking about body for days. She was cold. As soon as I seen her, my eyes lit up. I was like, oh, yes. And then, you know, I got to rapping with her and whatnot. We kind of vibed, you know, similar sense of humors and whatnot. But, you know, the only difference was she was kind of on the hood side, but I didn't mind that because, you know, even though I spent a lot of my adolescence in the suburbs, you know, I come from a big family and a lot of my family are hood. So, you know, I'm well-versed in hoodology. So that didn't bother me per se back then. But she told me this one time. She said she was referring to her sister. She was like, yeah, my sister said, you know, I don't need a man. I just want a couple of nuts so I can push out a couple of babies and then shit, I'll just get me a girlfriend. I'm cool. Now, in hindsight, when I think about that conversation, I'm like, she told me that in the context of her sister saying that, but that's how she felt. Because she didn't denounce that mode of thought when she said it, right after she said it. She said it in a manner to which she was championing it. So she was championing being a baby mama. So the baby mama culture is something entirely built and maintained by the black woman. Can't put that baby mama culture on a black man. Now, continuing with the comment. A woman cannot make herself a wife. Black men, I think she meant black men. Black men have to want to be husbands. And while there are some that want to, most do no. I think she meant do not. Don't act like that doesn't affect black women's marriage rates. When most black women only date black men, in American black men, I think she meant and American black men have the lowest marriage rates. Be honest. How many black men do you hear often talking about finding a wife? Be honest. You know, to piggyback on in response to this, to piggyback on something that Sarge Willie Pete says about the military and how they promote themselves and whatnot, and how they make joining the military look good. I was at class today, and it was the Marines had a booth set up, and they had a little iPad displaying one of their commercials and whatnot, and they were dressed in full, jarhead regalia and whatnot. And this older white woman came up to one of the Marines and thanked him for his service and gave him reverence and respect and admiration, and she shook his hand. Now let me ask you this. If someone was asking you to go halfway across the world and fight a war where you could potentially die or get maimed, coming back with no legs looking like Lieutenant Dan, or come back with no arm and shit. And the only reward that you got for doing this was the idea of feeling good about doing what is right. Would you do it? Hell no. You do that shit to get paid, and you do that shit so when you come back home, people will stop in the middle of the street they'll stop in the middle of the terminal when you get off the plane and salute you and come up to you and give you respect and admiration and thank you for your service. And then when you die, they bury you in prestigious military grave plots and graveyards and whatnot. What we have here today as it pertains to black marriage in the black community is that you mean to tell me you want me as a black man to marry a woman who is overtly and a lot of the times covertly hostile to me? She lets me know all the time how much respect or lack thereof that she has for me. How many times have you heard black women saying niggas ain't shit? I bet you hear the term niggas ain't shit at least 3 times a day. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. And by the time a lot of black men get on their feet and they are ready for marriage, sometimes mid to late 20s going into their early 30s, a lot of these women have a football team of children. And once again, let me let you in on a little secret. This is G14 classified shit here about what black men talk about as it pertains to women. Give you, for instance, say a buddy of mine, we go out to a club, Me and him, we go out to the smoking patio to enjoy a cigarette or something, right? He starts to chat with this female and whatnot. He doesn't, he's unable to seal the deal that night, but he sets up a date with her the next weekend, right? Say Friday or Saturday. They go out, chat it up, they get to know each other, everything is everything. Come Sunday, he calls me up, yo, bro, I'm having, the fellas over my house to watch the game. All right, I'm gonna come through. So I come over, then it dawns on me that he went on this date with this female that he met at the club prior to that. So I asked, like Craig said on Friday, what's up with that chicken head? Man. But anyway, let me stop. Let me get out of my nostalgia. But his response will be, oh man, she cold, she bad, this, that, and the third, cute, she say she trying to do this and, she's doing that and this, that, but she got kids. Yeah, she got a 5-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl. You know what my response is gonna be to that? Damn. And why? Like this is how we talk. This is how we talk. I'm telling you. If a woman has children, that diminishes her sexual marketplace value as a potential wife. That's just what it is. And truth be told, by the time brothers get to a point where they are on their feet or they're mature enough to settle down, mid to late 20s, early 30s, hell, they can't throw a rock without hitting a baby mama, without hitting a woman with children. Come on, man. And you know, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I'm gonna take a woman with children off the table. But one thing's for certain, hell, the other qualities that I look for, them shits gotta be all the way up. So if your concern is improving the marriage rates of black women with black men, I highly recommend that you address, the poor mating practices of black women. Natural selection. Remember, black women are the agents of selection when it comes to choosing a mate.